Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
Really glad that you guys are with us and that you're joining in. I trust that this has been a good day. But even if it hasn't yet, I'm going to ask you to put that judgment on pause for just a moment. Tonight we're going to be talking about from Pema Chodron's book, When Things Fall Apart. She has a whole chapter on opinions, and I figured that would be an off-putting title. So instead, I chose The Judgment Trap, which might be equally off-putting, but here you are, so here you get, The Judgment Trap. And so what I want us to explore is the power of examining how we form our opinions and how we can live more open-mindedly, because this is the part of our process that is looking for what's right? This is it. Is that right? Is it wrong? Is it the way it's supposed to be? Can I get evidence of it? Has anybody else see it this way? Is it right? This is our thinker up here. And then there's the part of us that judges whether something's good or not. And it tends to be, sometimes it's a thought process, and it's something we just decide through literal terms. Most of the time, or very often, it's more of an emotional truth. It feels good to us. If it feels good, or if it feels wrong, or if it feels off, it's a feeling, and it's harder to quantify, it's harder to prove, it's harder to put your hand on and show. So open-heartedness then is that area of determining what's good. So in determining what's right and what's good, there is a power that's within it. I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. But the willingness to see in our opinions that rightness isn't contained in my point of view. In other words, all of what is right, no matter what the subject is, whatever it is I'm thinking of, that when I think this is right and it's right for me, I have to remember that it's not right for everybody. It isn't a universal rightness, that it isn't a contained and total rightness, even for me. I have a tendency, as time goes on, to outgrow what I used to think was right or complete or good or whole or all I needed or whatever. And it changed, doesn't it? So there are lots of other ways rightness can look. Right now, this is my idea of it. And that my own view isn't completely right either. There are some weaknesses even in this, even in the one that fits me fine, that serves me, that's working in my life. I have to admit that there are some weaknesses in it, and that the longer I hold it, the more obvious the weaknesses will become. And unfortunately, there are probably people in your life, like in mine, who will poke their fingers into my rightness and show me where it's weak. I don't appreciate those people most of the time, but I learn from them. And once I get over it, I am grateful. I'm sure you are too. Go ahead and say you are. So then, being right, if I simply look at what's serving me now and realize that it is incomplete, that it has weaknesses, that it is not forever, and that if I can hold it lightly and say this or something better, or wait for something better to come along, I live a much more relaxed and peaceful life. The same is true of my judgment of goodness. For instance, goodness isn't contained in my view either. In other words, no matter how important something is to me, doesn't make it good for somebody else. It isn't universal. It doesn't go everywhere. It doesn't serve all purposes. My view can't contain all the good. It only contains the portion of good, the sliver, the pie slice of goodness that I need right now, or that works for me, or that I can recognize, or that I can hold on to, or that I can attract into my life, whatever that is. And that there are some weaknesses in my assumptions and in my conclusions about it that I must be ready to admit for the same reasons that I can't be right and hold on to this forever as the only right thing. With time, goodness and the things I think are good will shift and change, or the way of goodness may change for me. And I must be ready to hold that lightly as well if I choose peace in my life. And I do. That is my, it's my touchstone. It's my measure of whether I think I'm on the right track or not. I always have to ask myself, no matter how good or how right I think it is, I ask myself, does it give me peace? And if I can say yes to that, I know I'm on the right track. If I have to qualify it or defend it, maybe not so much. Maybe I need to step back. I need to hold it a little lighter. I need to get some opinions, maybe, and other opinions, some other people who've got some goodness and some rightness going for them. Maybe that's, I don't know, something like that. Soren Kierkegaard said, there are two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true. The other is to refuse to believe what is true. Ah, but how do you find the truth? What is truth, right? Pilate asked that of Jesus, because Jesus was always talking about truth. But he didn't define it, because it can't be defined. It is a knowing, it is a place buried deep and embedded deep within us that we touch, and when we have touched it, when something touches that truth in us, we know it. And we don't have to defend it or explain it or get anybody else in agreement about it, because we know that we know that we know. So what judgment or opinion do you have about the world or about others that you're ready to release? Maybe you're ready to outgrow something. A judgment or an opinion about others, maybe the way others behave. It can be an individual, it can be a group of others, it could be others at large, it could be people who are bothering you right now or irritating you, whatever. It isn't them you're trying to release necessarily. What I'm asking is, what judgments about them? What opinions? Because you're being tortured by holding a judgment or an opinion that is irritating, that is holding you separate, that is holding a group of people or a person as your nemesis, as the one who you allow to bother you or to upset you. And so you're the one holding the key to your own peace of mind. And it is through these judgments. I'm not saying you invite the person over to, live with you or anything like that. What I am saying is that keeping distance and keeping them, allowing them to live their life is probably the highest regard that you can offer. And keeping your opinion of them out of your house, that's the thing you want to do, is keep your opinion down. And just know that you're being tortured by your own discomfort and your own judgment. I notice for myself that if I can see the openings that my opinion is fraught with weakness, that it's temporary good or temporarily right, that it can't contain all the goodness or all the rightness, I can wander into an uncharted territory of amazing possibility and discovery much like we did in the meditation, where once we left the two gardens, we were able to walk out. And I'm sure if we were each to interview every person who was witness to that meditation or participating, you went somewhere else. All of your opened, uncharted territory looked differently. That there, I discover more good, more right, more collaboration, more acceptance of others' opinions, more learning, where I can enhance or change the way I think and the way I look at things. If I concede these openings don't contain, I find that I have more peace, and more love. And so my rightness and my goodness resides in peace and in love. And sometimes that's my shortcut. When I can't figure out how to let go of something, if I can just say what will bring me peace or what will open my heart in love, then those are the shortcuts to circumventing all my opinions and all my mess, and because I can get really caught up in my reasons, my defenses, my explanations, my evidence I've collected on how good that is, or how wrong that is, or how right this is, or how bad that is, you know. What is judgment, though, really? I'm glad you asked. Judgment is the power to discern. It's a beautiful power. It's very important. I would say that judgment, the power to discern, is actually one of humanity's great gifts. I think it's what distinguishes us in the animal kingdom, actually, for being able to discern this from that, to make some kinds of gradation and judgment calls. But it's a power to discern, not an endpoint. It doesn't distinguish and say, this is always good, this is always bad, this is always right, this is always wrong. That's not what it's really for. Sometimes we misuse it that way. Sometimes we would like for it to be that way because it just takes care of everything if you just always know what the right answer is, right? But it is an ever-moving target in truth. Synthesizing changing conditions. That's what your power of judgment does. It says, oh, this has come into being. This is really it. New factors, opportunities, constantly changing. Then it changes the answer. It changes the equation. If the equation changes, then the answer has to change too. That's math. Sorry, folks, if you didn't like math. But anything that's putting a different recipe, if you like to cook, a different recipe is going to create a different end product, right? It's going to taste different depending on the ingredients. Same thing. Judgment is constantly resynthesizing, constantly taking in the new data, the new experience, instead of always knee-jerking back to what was right yesterday or the day before or last year or 10 years ago or ever since I can remember, I have always done X, Y, Z. Beware these two words, always and never. Just take them out of your vocabulary. They don't fit. They certainly don't fit in this world, in this reality now. There is nothing always and never, unless we're talking about something in the infinite, in something in eternity, perhaps. But in this changing world, they have no meaning, and they'll always get you in trouble. Pema Chodron says, opinions are opinions, nothing more or less. All ego really is our opinions, which we take to be solid, real, and the absolute truth about how things are. To have even a few seconds of doubt about the solidity and absolute truth of our own opinions, just to begin to see that we do have opinions, introduces us to the possibility of egolessness. In other words, what I was saying earlier, if you can just entertain the notion that what you know for sure is true or right or good may not be complete. Let's say that. It fits for you, it works. I'm not saying throw it out. But it's not complete, and it can still change. And so be on the lookout for the next new piece, or for the next piece of evidence, or for a better idea, or for more good to come into your life. There's a freedom when we stop identifying with our opinions as ourself. Please underline that, write that down. We tend to think that what we think and what we believe defines us. And it only defines us as long as we live by it, as long as we hold to it and don't allow ourselves to deviate, right? Then we will be defined by that. But that's a choice. Our opinions, our views need to be seen as ever evolving. Therefore, we can ever evolve. We can continue to grow. And the less we identify with them, the less we're willing to defend them or to deny that they aren't working for us. To deny and to hold up, try to shore up something that no longer works or fits anymore. Have you done that before in your life? Pema Chodron says, we can just let opinions go and come back to the immediacy of our experience. We could come back to looking at someone's face in front of us, to tasting our coffee, to brushing our teeth, to whatever we might be doing. We might discover we are in a brand new world, that we have new ears and new eyes. That's how it could be, as we stop identifying with the things we know for sure and put a question mark behind it. We can bring more peace to the world by being more at peace with ourselves. And how do we get there? We get there by seeking peace first and then reconforming what we know for sure around what brings us peace. Peace is the goal. Peace is the evidence. Peace is the touchstone. Pema Chodron also said, the way to stop the war is to stop hating the enemy. It's not to stop fighting. It's to stop hating to start with. Don't even harbor it. It starts with seeing our opinions of ourselves and of others as simply our take on reality and not making them a reason to increase the negativity on the planet. Yeah, post that in Facebook. Yes, put that out there. It frees us and clears our view of the world and of possibilities when we aren't locked into making someone or some group wrong. And beware of identifying with the good team also. The good team makes us blind and denying reality. At some point, when we refuse to see, again, the weaknesses or the not so good things about being on the good team. Loyalty's great, and camaraderie, and strength in numbers, and community, all those things are great. But stay alert to seeing things as they are so that better things can happen, that you can call out and name things that might need to change and find agreement where things do need to change, rather than hunker down and defend at all costs something that's working less and less of the time. Rebecca Solnit said, when all the ordinary divides and patterns are shattered, people step up to become their brother's keepers. And that purposefulness and connectedness bring joy even amidst death, chaos, fear, and loss. And isn't that what we're facing right now? I don't think you can wander too far off of the Facebook page to find death and chaos and fear and loss. So I ask you a second question. What ideas or practices do you use to help you authentically embrace those who challenge or trigger you? What ideas or practices do you use to help you authentically embrace those who challenge or trigger you? Your nemesis, That one who bothers you, the first one you think of when you wake up in the morning, the last one you go to sleep thinking about before. Sorry, I hope that's not true, but sometimes it is. When they're bothering us, sometimes it is. Pema Chodron says, there's nobody on the planet, neither those whom we see as the oppressed, nor those whom we see as the oppressor, who doesn't have what it takes to wake up. I'll say that again. There is nobody on the planet, neither those whom we see as the oppressed, nor those whom we see as the oppressor, who does not have what it takes to wake up. Put that on Facebook. This is true because it is true about us. Yes? Would you allow that you have what it takes to wake up, even if you're not fully awake or awake all the time? And because you have it, then you have to know it's universal. You have to allow it for yourself, to allow it for others. You have to allow it for others to allow it for yourself. Works either way, it works both ways. Because it's always true. Oh, I used an always. But you know why? Because that's an eternal truth. It came from eternity, as did we. Albert Schweitzer said, until we extend the circle of compassion to all living beings, we will not ourselves find peace. Extending the capacity for growth, extending the capacity for goodness, extending the capacity for rightness beyond all of my measures and all of the ways in which I judge, allows me to move out of my useful judging tool and down deep into my heart of love. And that's my point of compassion, of really grounding myself in what will make me happiest and most at peace. Pema Chodron says, cultivating a mind that does not grasp at right and wrong, good and bad, you will find a fresh state of being. The ultimate cessation of suffering comes from that. In other words, letting go of your judgments, holding them lightly, holding opinions lightly, allowing them to be changed, allowing them to have new input. Ken Wilber, an author, teacher, philosopher, he says, who studied the evolution of consciousness and has mapped it for us, says, be the most ethical, the most responsible, the most authentic you can be with every breath you take, because you are cutting a path into tomorrow that others will follow. That's also true. You can bank on that. God bless you all.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.